We are here with my favorite person on the planet, the founder of camp, Betsy Wiersma.
The
Woo!
crowd goes wild. Woo!
I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because, Betsy, over the last several years, you have been an amazing guide and mentor and support and friend to me. And as we kind of launched the 2024 plans for camp, and they were centered around supporting entrepreneurs in those early stages of their business. I'm just so grateful that camp has been around to set that foundational kind of element, right? With the community members and all of your experience. So, this conversation is centered around what I wished I knew when I started my business. And I'm just, again, grateful to have you here to share your knowledge and experience with all of the women out there that are looking to make their dreams come true.
Okay, no pressure. No pressure, just willing to make their dreams come true. Yeah, an old person back in the day when I was 21. And I was pretty much 21. Um, yeah, so happy to be of service. Laura, thank you for taking the Camp Legacy to the next level, and so happy to support the up and coming entrepreneurs of all ages, because what's so
Yeah.
cool about being an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you're young. It just
No.
means that you have a heart for trauma, tragedy, adventure, and all the above, because it's an e-ticket ride, as you well know, and as we have shared in many, many times. So happy
Mhm.
to help.
So, Betsy, start out by just, because we might have some new viewers or new camp members that haven't had the chance to really get to know you. So, just start off by kind of a little bit of your background and even share what you're doing today.
Well, okay, I was the chairman of the class float. Remember those people that were the yearbook editor and that worked for not, I wasn't a cheerleader, the fancy, all that. I worked for the I was a mat maid for the wrestling team. Go fight pin. Go fight pin is what you do when you're a mat maid. I made cookies for the not only the wrestling team but also the track team. I was a track gal. So I was never in the beauty pageant service. I've always been in the creativity service. So that started in high school with lots of internships and, like I said, junior float sponsorships. Uh, Went to 7 internships at Purdue University, where I graduated in 1983. Some of you have not been born yet. Others of you have been born in 1983, and was blessed to be their outstanding senior woman, which I think was outstanding in the line at the bar. But my parents just knew it was the outstanding senior woman at Purdue. So I had an illustrious career of many entrepreneurial adventures, even before I was in business. At college, we started a nonprofit and we did group buying with toilet paper for all the fraternities and sororities. So, kind of my mind has always been like, how do we have fun? Always number one. How do we turn something into a business? My fourth grade macrame bead bracelet business was my first one, fourth grade. And then how do we serve the world with everything we do so that we're creating memories and uplifting and inspiring? So I have been in the special events and marketing industry probably since Girl Scouts, and then in junior high, and then recently in kind of the end of my 50s ish, have just decided to go for this craziness of being an artist, and being an artist that creates inspirational, motivational, fun, uplifting products. And that's turned into some clothing lines and art retreats, teaching art workshops around the world, art adventures. So I'm really branching out in this time to just see what it could be to take my marketing, my special events, and then take it into the world of art, and then help people have experiences around art and inspiration. So other than that, and then live part-time in New Smyrna Beach, Florida in the winter to escape the snow in Denver, Colorado. So I'm looking at some palm trees out here, Laura.
Except when you come back for Better Together Fest for a snowstorm.
I know, and my husband yells through the doorbell cam, "Nice job on the shoveling, honey." And I'm like, this is why we live in Florida. I've got 8 inches of wet snow and you're yelling, nice job from Florida
That's
on the
pretty
cam.
cool.
So, yeah, but it was worth it to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something that you talked about as you were introducing yourself that I think there's this sometimes a perception that starting over or recreating, right? Like recreating these different phases of our life, that maybe we're not prepared for it. And I just picked up this phrase the other day, that says, trust your preparation, right? It doesn't mean that we've done the exact thing before, but all of the things in your experience that you've done has prepared you for this moment. And then you get to decide, right? Is that starting a new clothing line? Is that becoming an artist? Like you, even if we haven't done that thing, you have prepared to do whatever you set your mind out to do. So I just really love this idea of, bringing who we are and our experiences into this professional setting of trusting your preparation for whatever next step you want to take professionally.
Well, the whole preparation for me is, fear versus faith,
Mm-hmm.
period. Because you can make up 1,000 stories why things won't work, or you could just try them. And then I always, when I had my hip replacements and some of the stuff I had to learn how to walk again, I would say there's nowhere to go but through. And I really feel like as an entrepreneur, there's nowhere to go but through. There's not an off ramp called it's hard today. So I'm not going to be an entrepreneur. If you pick this path, if you pick your living your dream, some things are going to work great and other things maybe aren't going to work great by today's definition, but then you go into the really thing, like what is success? So if you don't sell a lot of items at a fair or festival, but you meet fabulous people that take you to the next level of something else, was it not a success because you didn't have sales?
Yeah.
Or did the big God use that time and that place and that space for you to meet the person you were supposed to
Mm-hmm.
meet? And so I think the world tells us, oh, it's only about money and it's only about, your numbers and your followers and all that. And really, in this season, I'm really about how do I stay present? How do I experience joy?
Yep.
What are all the years I just crammed through it and pushed so hard and I never took a breath? Never took a breath. And then, what does that do to your body now in your 60s when you didn't walk in your 20s and 30s and you tried to catch up in your 40s and 50s and 60s? So, I would tell everybody every single moment of everything is used for good. It's never given against you, it's always giving for you, to learn something, to connect to something, and even to fail. There's something
Mm-hmm.
great about it. Like I can't say that I'm a clothing designer superstar, but I can say there's people wearing some really cute yoga leggings. And when they
Yeah.
put them on, they go, oh, so fun. Betsy made them. And if
Mm.
that's 100 people in the world versus tens of thousands, I'm down for that
Yeah.
because I really am changing the way I define success and not being of the world.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And that is going to go into my next question because I think failure is this dark cloud that hangs over entrepreneurs. More often than it should, right? And what I would love to see, camp provide is tools and resources for people to get that cloud off of them, right? So then they can go out and do what you're saying, right? Be very present, provide the impact that they are meant to be providing to the world through the vessel of the work that they're doing. So, can you share a significant challenge you faced in the early stages of your business journey, and how were you able to overcome that experience?
Oh, gosh, there's 1,000. So I have been in special event planning, which you know very well. And I started with me, and then I had a staff of like 3 or 4. And then we had an office with rent, and then I had downtown parking, and then I had paying for healthcare. And I had a pretty significant overhead for a young 30-ish. When I started my business, really, I started it part time on the side, but I graduated from college and did 1 year working for somebody else. So let's say at 25 is when I was kind of in it, in my own. Um, and I found many, many times that people would say anything, but not necessarily follow through.
Mm,
And lots of things happened about that were really bad. On a little level, I built the businesses of my graphic designer. I built the businesses of my production company. That was not my husband at the time, just a note, because I did marry my production company, but that not when I was 20. I built the businesses of all these people because we had this co-op agreement that we were all going to help each other. And when I woke up a year later, I had built all these people's work, give them all these referrals, taken no money, no markups, nothing, and they had done none for me. So
mm,
the lesson there was lots of times I think we fall in love with our own idea and
mm,
we're like, yeah, yeah, this is all going to work. And then we wake up a little bit sad or mad it didn't work. And on
mhm,
the micro level, that was just being disappointed when I was, early in my business, say the first 4 years. On a macro level, year 10, I had an employee just totally lie to me about a contract that was never signed. And I ended up losing thousands of dollars
mhm,
because it just never got signed. She didn't tell me. She decided she wasn't happy with her job. She didn't tell me. I was off in the world speaking, running around and doing, and she was a vice president. I thought it was all great. I kind of delegated and abdicated because I wanted to believe she was so competent. I was paying her more money than me. And unfortunately, a great big thing blew up.
mm.
So I would say the lesson that I learned the super hard way is to spend lots more time listening, to
Yeah,
write everything down, to have the person you're in collaboration with come back with their version of whatever it is, right? So you
yeah,
don't fall in love with yourself. This is also a note to how to not hire people because I would hire people and say, you're going to be a great office manager, right? And they say,
yeah,
sure. And I think, because you're so good on the computer, right? And they say,
yeah,
sure, because what are they going to say? And then in the
yeah,
end, they would be terrible on the computer. They're a terrible office manager, but I convinced myself to like them and told them what to be
yeah.
and hired them. And then that wasn't so good.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that our hearts are in the right place, right? Like we see this. I have experienced this in my personal life where we see potential in others, right? We see that they're good at this one thing and we're like, but you could be good at all of these things, right? I see
Yeah,
it in you. And that is us projecting on them, right? We are
correct.
projecting the potential that we want that person in front of us to have instead of their reality. And I've done this mostly in my personal life, but sometimes in my professional life. And it's how do we make sure that our lines of communication are open, right? That people are able to share their expectations of whatever experience or collaboration we have together. And then everybody is beneficial, right? And that, I've done that as well, but I think that's a really, really important lesson early on when your, at least my experience, my margin for error is so much smaller in that beginning phases of my business, right? I,
Yes.
I can't make big mistakes.
Well, and the other thing is too, because we're founders and entrepreneurs and we do everything all the time, 24/7,
Mhm.
it's our passion. It's different when you hire someone to be on your team and then all of a sudden you expect they're going to have your passion, your drive, your commitment, plus that they're going to pick up all the miscellaneous stuff you forgot to mention in the job interview
Yeah,
because you really need it done. And you think, well, can't you just be like
yeah,
me and pick up the marketing, pick up the newsletter, blah, blah, blah. And then the problem is the answer is no, they're not willing or not able. Then you've got this problem because you're small business, you're paying somebody money, which is
yeah,
precious in the beginning. You have a high expectation because you like them. Then they're disappointing you, sometimes not their fault. Maybe
mhm,
sometimes they overpromise, but many times it's on us, and I did that a lot of times. Um,
mhm.
and I think it's too, I just love to love people,
Yeah,
and create a story of good for them. And I think that's something I wish I had done better. But of course, I couldn't hire somebody to help me hire.
right.
And it's funny, the office manager I hired when I hired someone to help me hire was just as bad. I finally hired somebody who did those tests and those, see the dots and who are you and LMP, QRS, and does it match? And that
Yeah.
person was terrible. And I
Yeah.
should have just hired them for myself again. So
Yeah.
buyer beware. Um, Stop talking, I think would be the way I'd do it, is say, my vision is this, tell me what you think, and stop talking and be sure they can create a shared vision or that they can come up with the same skill set you're expecting.
Yeah. I think that is the most concise way to put it. Yeah. I love it. Well,
And
we have
also
a long,
put a trial period in. Like
yes.
my husband learned this the hard way too. Always, I don't care if you think this person walks on water, they're the best person ever. Do an out,
Mm-hmm.
do a 6 week. Let's have a conversation with no hard feelings, no, lawsuit. I'm going to claim against you, blah, blah, blah. Because
Yeah.
you never know when things get in. And it could be a style point thing, it could be a listening thing, it could be things you could never have even thought of.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to go into it just saying, it's a prenup kind
Yeah.
of for married
Yeah.
and employed. Although I'm not so sure I agree with prenups in Doug Lane didn't do that. But I think for an employee, it's good to go in with a clear
Yeah.
out closet conversation.
Yeah. I actually had an HR consultant that I worked with once that told me that you should have in hiring documents and she recommended 2 weeks. That probably is too fast, right? Like how much can you really learn from someone? But I think it's super smart, right? And you can come to the conversation with kindness, right? If this has to be a fit for both of us. This you should come back in 6 weeks and tell me, is this really a fit for you? As well as me returning that to you, right? Based on, was my job description accurate, right? What I told you the job was going to be in this first 6 weeks, is that what you expected? And did that meet your expectations? And that starts off our ability to communicate effectively from the very start of a relationship or an employment.
And
So,
it brings up my favorite tip for all entrepreneurs. And this is Kathy Hawk and I talk about this all the time: match, not sell.
yeah.
So you think like, I got to get clients, I got to get clients, I got to get clients. If those clients are not a good match for
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you can do, then two things are going to be bad. You're either not going to be able to do it or they're not going to like what you can do. And
Yeah.
then you have a bigger mess on your hands. So I really have learned that, I say, dear God, send me the people, places, and things to serve you. And here's the kicker: let all others fall away.
Mm-hmm.
So, true story. I come to Florida. This lady's, I want to carry your clothing line. She's all excited. She sets a date for a trunk show. I come here. I bring Doug. We meet her. She's all excited. She shows me the rack where my clothing's going to be. And she's messing around. The employee whispers to me, sales have been really slow this fall. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say a word, but her shop had a lot of things in it. Well, next thing I follow up and I'm like, hey, you set back the date of our big show. I'm all excited. I brought 300 items down. And she said, I'm unable to carry your clothing line. I'm overextended with others.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, first, I was sad, because my ego was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, you're
Yeah.
going to be my store.
Yeah.
Blackler down at New Smyrna Beach, And then my brain kicked in and said, send me the people, places, and things, let others fall away. If she is already going into it and she's already stressed and she's already overcommitted to lines that you have to buy a lot, like if you carry some of her high end brands, she has to spend a lot of money with them to keep the brand, right? And I'm just a little designer small. So if it is stressful already going in, for her to have 10 or 20 items, for me to make $200, why
Yeah.
would I be tethered to New Smyrna Beach when I don't live there full time? And, I just saw all the things line up. So I think, again, sometimes all others fall away is hard with friendships, romantic relationships, employees. But
Mhm.
sometimes the fall away part is really important to clear for what's next or just not a good fit. So I realized, my best sale is just personally people that meet me, come to a pop up show, try something on and buy it.
Yeah.
Everything else gets complicated. You order it online, it's not the size you thought, you don't like you can't return it. It's art, you
Yeah.
can't return it. So So I just have to just say, stop. You can't make up a story because the world says you should be in a store. Maybe you shouldn't
Yeah.
be in a store. That's not your jam. So
Yeah.
just stop it, Betsy.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Well, I'm going to ask you to elaborate a little bit on that and to reflect back to the beginning of your journey. So, how has your mindset or approach to business changed since you started? And what mindset do you wish you would have adopted earlier in your journey? And maybe you've answered that through that story that you just shared, but I think that is a really, really important piece that as an early stage entrepreneur, having our mindset controls how we show up, right? It controls how we show up to a meeting, whether that's a sales meeting or just a collaboration meeting. It controls how we go to bed, right? The mood we're in, and how we wake up, the mood we're in, how we start our day. And I think you have worked with so many great people around mindset. So if you have additional advice there.
Well, yeah. So the first part about mindset is something I'm going to make on a t-shirt soon. I'm going to make this. Everything you know for sure, you're right. Think about that for a minute. Everything you know for sure, you're right. So if you believe I can do this and I'm going to kick it and I'm going to bid against the big people and my creativity, better together events is going to just be the thing. If you believe that, you have potential and energy toward that. If you go, oh, this is a stretch. I don't know. We're so small. We've never done this before. You're creating another story. So I have always said forever, create a good story because you
Yeah.
might as well, because your brain and God doesn't know the difference. Like if you say, oh, I always get headaches, and God's like, oh, I wasn't going to give you a headache, but if you always get them, you know, literally, I used to always get up and say, I better take aspirin. I'm going to get a headache until I stopped calling in a headache every day. Crazy, but it's true. You have such power. So that mindset, I would say, is really important. But what I didn't know when I was young in business and I learned, and camp is a great example of, you are not alone. So, what that looks like is finally, when I was later in my career, moved to Denver, I met Kathy Hawk and she changed everything. She's a coach. You already did an interview with Kathy and Jen. I figured out that she, as an entrepreneurial visionary leader coach, really got me. She totally knew. She totally knew from talking to 2,000 other Betsy's and Laura's in the world. She knew everything that was hard. She knew things that were in flow, and she helped me navigate an operating system that works for
Mhm.
me. So I didn't know in business. So I was alone in my second bedroom and then in my office. And then I was the boss and I couldn't be friends with my staff. Really, I had to be the boss still, and so they weren't my peers. Then I got into some leadership groups with young entrepreneurs organization and started meeting other CEOs. That really helped me, so I kind of had a group of that.
Yeah.
It could be a social group, a Bible study, a book club, but you got to surround yourself with other people that you can love
Mhm.
and they can love you, because the journey is tough enough and to feel like you have to do it all. And plus, I was really innovative. So I made up bed races and CEOs racing at horse tracks and things nobody had ever done. I know you're surprised by that, Laura.
No,
Um,
I'm
it,
not.
it's it's not like I got the bed race manual out and figured out how to do a bed race. Like I came up with bed racing and then took it all over the world because that's me. Um, so I didn't have others that had done it to study. Now, one thing I did when I was brand new in business is I interviewed in Indianapolis, Indiana, other CEOs that were women. And that was really great. They weren't in my industry, but I just went around and interviewed women CEOs and asked them what they learned, what some of their key lessons were. And I always brought them, a nice little gift and thank you and
Mhm.
everything, and took 15 minutes of their time. So that was good to get a general perspective. And in that time, I was really a leader in that community. So I met, I had a lot of people there. Um, and that was fun and good. But if I did that again, I probably would interview women CEOs in the event industry or
Yeah.
CEOs in the event industry, because that would be more pertinent to what I was doing. But at that time, there weren't women running event companies in Indianapolis,
Yeah.
Indiana, in 1985.
Yeah.
There's only me.
Yeah. Well, as we get wrapping up our conversation, you have a lot of you always have great one-liners, and I love when you share them because they're always like these quick, like bring me back, right? If I'm, in a place where something's happening and I'm in my own head, right? But these one-liners that you have, and one of them is like your secret sauce. So, Betsy, what is the secret sauce of that a new entrepreneur needs to know?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to share this because I think secret sauce is what I would also call your style points. And
Yeah.
what is that that's uniquely you that people remember you for, right? So the first one I would tell you for me, and also for my sister, she's got a great track record with this, is the importance of sincere gratitude. Boom. That's part of your mindset. It's how you get up in the morning, but it's also how you thank a client. You write a personal note. You're always looking for something that you could do or be for somebody that's close to you. You know, I Christmas shop year round because that's who I am. And I look for little things and then I collect them and I really have fun saying, like, oh my gosh, I got this for you, someplace
Mhm.
crazy. But for me, gifting is one of my love languages. I love to gift time and stuff and make stuff and art, right? So, gratitude. Like my sister applied for a job, 10 people applied nationally. She wrote a personal note to the lady in New York City. She got it. They said she wrote a personal note, and only 110 did. So, again, however your style is, lots of digital things these days, but I think gratitude is the number one. I think be personally memorable. Like for me, it's like wear your brand. So I have on, of course, orange nail polish and an orange shirt and a super fun jacket that I made. And I always have crazy glasses and I have a card that has flowers on it. Like I am a creative person and I wear a creative outfit and I am a creative brand. So I think like who you are, whether that's as
Mhm.
simple as an embroidered shirt with your logo or anything you can do. Maybe you wear a color family. Maybe you always wear the blue that's in your logo. You don't have to be as crazy as me and put flowers on your car. Um, but you can definitely find style points for yourself or a really unique business card or, a client gift. I know Smedley Events has always had really good client gifts, and I'm sure you'll continue that with Better Together events. It's that kind of stuff, I think, number three. And I think that the third part now is newer in my thing. And here it's behind me, and it's the present of presence
Mhm.
because people are all starved for connection, period.
Yep.
Every human is starved for connection. So if you can take the little bit of time you have with a customer, a new contact, somebody that you meet at a camp event, and just stop and be with them, listen to them, look into their eyes, repeat things back, make some notes about them, repeat with the follow up text. Oh, I heard you telling me about your new company, that you're going to Vegas soon, your new partner, like really actually care.
Yep.
I believe that is part of the secret sauce because people just want to be heard and seen. And if you can do that, that's a great way to sort out, again, the clients that are going to match. And if they're not your client, you don't know who they could send you to, is the key, right? It's like
Mhm.
you are just a portal to all the people you know. And I really think it's, 2 degrees of separation probably from all the people and all the years I've been everywhere. So, but probably I know somebody to help you. So if I get a positive impression of you personally as a human being, and I think whatever you're trying to do is wonderful and awesome, I'm going to advocate for you. I'm going to make a contact for you. I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to coach, it
Yeah,
makes all the difference in the world. So be here now, the present of presence.
I love that. Well, Betsy, you are one of my favorite people on this planet because of lots of things that you've shared on this call in this conversation today. But, I am so incredibly excited for the future, for myself, for you, for camp, for everybody that's a part of it. Somebody recently shared with me that 90% of all startup businesses fail in the first year. And that is just heartbreaking, right? If we can create a community that is able to support women in particular. In this instance, we're talking about women, although we had a couple of guys show up to Better Together Fest, and I wasn't mad about
I
it.
did. I
They
did
were,
see them. I made a point to say hello, and they didn't want to buy a frock. I kept saying, this would look darling on you. Never worked.
but how, if we can really provide this supportive community, right, where people feel seen and heard and they feel like they belong and they have the ability to get the resources that they need to actually pursue their dream, right? And they get to define what that dream is. Back to the idea of success. The dream doesn't mean you're $1 million business, right? The dream is what you want, what you identify, what you create, and then you just need a little bit of support along the way. So that is our mission. That is our goal. That is the reason for these conversations, because these are the bits of knowledge that I wish I would have had access to when I started. I didn't think about going and interviewing a bunch of CEOs. I probably was just stalking them on LinkedIn. But how can we make sure that the knowledge of those that have already been through it, we are actually sharing with others so that they get just 1% chance more of making their dreams come true?
Well, and the camp network again, the friendships, the camaraderie, the positive, uplifting messages, the cool printed materials,
Hey, we still got them. We have affirmation cards.
all of those. That's a long-standing joke with me and Laura. All of those things. It's funny. I think if I look in my drawer, I have like a camp card right here, which is really random too, right? Because I keep those. So I just wish everybody great luck. Remember, everything you know for sure, you're right. So create a wonderful story of the greatness you will be, the difference you'll make in the world, the fun friends you'll have forever from the camp network, of which we all do, that really are sincere people that just want to do good and have fun together and make the world a better place. So come on in, the water's fine.
Oh, awesome. I love you, Betsy Wiersma. We'll keep Colorado cool for you for when you come back.
I'll be home whenever you just before this even runs, I'll be home. But if you need to find me, go to artonpurpose.us. You can see what happens when an event planner turns into an artist and
Okay.
look around that website. There's all kinds of fun things, something called Community, which is absolutely free. And it's a bunch of videos I made about vision board making and Kathy and I doing bridge plans and all that. That's just a give back. So you just sign up so I can keep it behind a wall so the spammers don't get in there. But it's all free. Again, artonpurpose.us. Get yourself some support and we'll see you around the camp.
Awesome.